Greetings, this is iVideo. My name is John Sabers, I'm your host, and today we'll continue our look at World War II in the present series. As many of you know, iVideo is a program which looks at history, broadly speaking. That is, we might look at, say, martial areas or arts. We might look at science or religion, and so forth. We try to find aspects of these subjects which are not well known. We think that establishment history of these sorts of things tend to be angular, not rounded, and these irregularities are entirely unwelcome from our point of view, and we think that it does injury to a society. We are emphatically in favor of fact, law, and truth, God's law, God's truth. And therefore, we are a little leery of those that are made by men, as they often have subjective and vain aspects to them, and indeed may be malign, malignant, injurious. But be that as it may, we are in this particular series looking at the concentration camps. We have noted in the past how this whole business in our lifetime has snowballed into actually an event called the Holocaust, which seems to tower above the whole of World War II and to sort of overshadow it, which we think is a singularity. It has a strongly religious aspect. We don't take that approach. We take the approach of this being a historical event, which should be analyzed as any other historical event, with a dispassionate eye, with a look at facts, and with an attempt to draw an even-handed analysis of events. We see this as being, in the way, a struggle between Eastern-derived, I should say European-derived intellectuals on the one hand who are trying to find the truth of the matter, and Masonic and Jewish obstructionists on the other who are trying to keep this matter under wraps, as it were. Much as in religion, the mystery religions, knowledge was kept from the mass of people, sheltered and cradled in the upper reaches where only the high priest dwell. We don't think this is a good idea. So at any rate, we pursue this. We have, of course, received many, many hate crimes for our effort, verbal hate crimes, and who knows, but that physical may not follow. But at any rate, we pursue this because we think that it is the right thing to do. So we are looking at this particular thing from various angles. We have already looked at the numbers. We have looked at the ambience or the environment of the camps. We have looked at the views of the German officials, looked at the immigration matter, looked at Nuremberg and the trials. We've looked at this in such a way as to provide clear evidence that involuntary testimony and fraudulent misrepresentations occurred. And it is this last area that we wish to expand upon. And in this particular episode, we will primarily continue with what we did in the previous one, look at illustrations which were used as documents in Nuremberg Trials and or in subsequent propaganda books, all of which tended to provide a leverage for Jews and perhaps to Masons, and also to provide the incentive for immense economic reward. This has occurred in every nation, it would seem, and generally. We think that this whole business smells to high heaven. and is in toto a slander against the German people. And this is our view. You may have a different view. That's up to you. We provide you with evidence, however, to round the picture, and that is what this is all about. So with this note, let's kick off with the following illustration. Now, this particular photo appeared at the top on page 29 of Forged War Crimes Malign the German Nation, a book by Udo Wallendy. And there is a caption to it, SS men cut the Star of David into the skin. Published with this text in Faschismus, Ghetto, Messenmord, Dokumentation über Ausrottung und Widerstand der Juden in Poland, published by the Jewish Historical Institute, Warsaw, Frankfurt, 1960, page 42. In addition, this photograph appeared with the caption, "The Star of David was burnt onto men's foreheads." Published with this text in The Pictorial History of the Third Reich, a shattering photographic record of Nazi tyranny and terror, Robert Newman, Helga Koppel, Bantam Books, New York, page 148. Now, this next picture published on page, appeared on page 29 at the bottom of Wallendy's book, published like this by Tadeusz Kotobiński in a book published in Warsaw, 1960, and appearing on page number 38. Now, this last picture is for a comparison. It appeared in a publication by Robert Newman. Now, these Jews never existed. Should they have existed, they would have been introduced to the international public and would have been mentioned by name in the publications, and their addresses would have been given. One need only look at the left and right hands and the white sleeves belonging to them, as well as to the anonymous, terrible background, to know where we stand with this proof. The stars are situated differently on the three pictures. In Robert Newman's Hitler, Aufstieg und Untergang des Dritten Reichs, they are different again. The waistcoats are also different. Poor drawing. Now, this last photograph is a single photo of the middle Jew in comparison to a real human with the same size head. Transfer the contours onto tracing paper, and you will find a further biological wonder at the throat, the shoulders, the arms, and hands. Again, this photograph appeared on page 30 of Wallendy's book. And now, it seems to me entirely possible that the con men putting together these pictures we've just seen must have chuckled quite a lot. There's such a madcap aspect to it all and so forth. You can immediately think of the Three Stooges or some other comical Jewish group, which these three might have also have been. They could have come to America and made films, I'm thinking, and had us rolling in the aisles. But instead, they appear to be only fabrications, and therefore a great comic trio perhaps has been lost. But at any rate, let's go on to our next pictures, shall we? This particular photo appears on page 10 with a caption, "The Gestapo degraded Jewish people by cutting off the traditional haircut with scissors." It was published with this text in Illustrate, a text book by page 390 by K. Zintner. This picture is fabricated photo and presents a completely unrealistic situation in this form. No soldier in full battle attire with gloves and haltered weapon would want to cut the hair of a Jew who is nearly bald. All faces, very clearly seen at the eyes, are touched up. The mirroring on the steel helmets is unrealistic. No photograph shows such reflections. The shadows fall contradictorily. The rifle hangs the wrong way round. The stocks should be at the back, the haltering in front. The grooves on the wall run at random. The absolutely black coat of the Jew runs into the other part of the picture without apparent outline, because the whole picture is a mounted fabrication. Now, the next photograph we show is on page 11 of Walendy's book, Forged War Crimes Malign the German Nation. The top photograph on that particular page shows a genuine photo of Nazi troops as a comparison with those shown in the photograph on page 10, the previous photograph. Now, if you take the upper photograph and enlarge the swastikas and compare that with an enlargement of the swastikas on the fabricated soldiers on page 10, you get interesting comparison as seen in the lower pictures on page 11, which we now show. Enlargement of the swastikas on the helmet of the fabricated picture is on the left, and enlargement of the swastika on the genuine helmet is on the right. Now, people, clearly there's an attempt here to portray the ordinary German as anti-Jewish to the nth degree here. Malevolent presence, always in the presence of innocent Jews and so forth, who are persecuted without reason and so forth. We consider this all a bunch of hooey, and although the Hitler regime may have been intent on removing Jewry from Germany and perhaps even Europe, the German people, I do not think, were particularly anti-Jewish. After all, they had been living with Jews with reasonable comfort for many centuries, and the presence of prominent Jews in schools, medicine, and so forth would tend perhaps to engender respect rather than the contrary. But at any rate, let's continue. Now, this particular photograph appeared on page 12 of Walendy's book with the caption, "Polish Rabbi is Degraded," printed with this text in Macht und Moral by R. Schnabel, page 408. And also, it appears with a caption, "Maltreatment of a Jewish Priest," printed with this text in SSM Einsatz, printed on page 521, Berlin East, by the Committee of Anti-Fascist Resistance Fighters in the DDR. At any rate, this picture is a straightforward drawing. The heads of the soldiers are much too small in comparison with their bodies. The same is true of the Jews in the background. Although the soldier on the right is standing the same distance from the camera, he is too small in comparison to the other soldiers. But at the same time, he is too tall in comparison with his head, and his gun is too thin. The caps of the soldiers are wrong, and the neck of both soldiers are wrong. The ground is too sloped, as the picture could not have been taken from higher than normal height. Architecturally, the lines of the buildings are erroneous. The conditions of light and shadows, as well as the focus of the picture, are not correct if compared with the rabbi in front. The pictures of both books are not the same if compared in enlargement. The soldiers are reported to be SS, yet no eagle is visible on their left arm overcoats. Compare with left arm eagle on left arm on page 10 of that particular photograph. Now, the following photograph is kind of an enlargement appearing on page 13 at the left of the soldier we see on the left-hand side of the photograph of the picture depicted in page 12 of Walendy's book. For comparison's sake, on the right-hand side of page 13 are real German soldiers, photographs taken for comparison. A comparison of this painted soldier with a real photo of German soldiers taken from the book of Paul Carroll's Unternehmen Barbarossa im Bild Berlin, Frankfurt, Wien, 1985, Ulstein Verlag, page 87, shows how a photo looks like. A comparison with the size of the head makes any comment unnecessary. The reader can see this more clearly with the help of an outline on tracing paper of the correctly proportioned anatomy, recommended also for other pictures. The head of the soldier is not even in the center of his shoulders. The belt surrounds the upper part of his pelvis. Now, people, the idea of selling a false proposition usually entails repetition, and quite a lot of it, and the bigger the lie, perhaps the greater the amount of repetitions and the greater the number of voices utilized to put forth these repetitions. And in time, uncaring people will usually accept these lies unless they are confronted. And we know that the establishment, historians, media people, journalists, reporters, book writers, and propagandists of all sorts are not about to confront truth, falsehood with truth. So it's left to the little guy, the unknown guru, the obscure investigator, and so forth. Now, I would like to also say that Mr. Udo Walindi has been thrown in German jails for his forthright work in regard to investigating the claims against the German people, the concentration camps, etc. The basis of this is pretty much the same basis as was used in the United States to overturn our laws during the Warren Court years, a group of years dominated by Freemasonic justices, and one in which the Polish Jew, I believe, named Raphael Lemkin, as I recall, wrote the laws, the statutes in the United Nations Charter or Constitution, which forbid comments in regard to race that might offend or defame or so forth. And it is this statute which has been used to overturn our national laws and which have been used to keep such people as are found in Europe who are forthright in jail or harassed and so forth, and to keep the general populations of Europe and America in a state of ignorance and in fact accomplices in a great criminal effort. So we condemn all this. We don't think it's right. We think that stalwart Americans should really stand up for the truth of things and not be cowed by economic threats or threats of Fed cops or threats of any other kind. Let the Boutros Ghalis and the Annans, the Coffee Annans and so forth, do all their threats and stuff like this. But let's keep America under the Constitution, where freedom of speech is an important element, because freedom of thought is an important element. But let's continue, shall we, with our pictures. This particular photograph carries a caption, KZ Guard, Victims in Buchenwald, in the SS government, the perfect slave system. Published with this text in Der Spiegel, 10/10/1966, number 42, page 101. This picture is fabricated. The lighting of the left side of the picture is definitely different from the right side. The facial contours of the prisoners are unrecognizable, whereas the contours of the SS Unterscharführer are visible to the last detail. Whereas the prone prisoner throws a clear shadow, the SS Unterscharführer casts no shadow. The upper part of the uniform of the guard, above the belt, does not match the lower part. The side pockets under the belt are missing. The buttoned edge of the jacket does not run correctly from top to bottom. The left hand particular photograph carries the caption, "Trailers with Corpses of Prisoners, C.C. Buchenwald," published with this text in R. Schnabel's Macht und Moral, page 343. This picture is also fabricated. This is clearly recognizable by comparing enlargements of this print and the reproduction in SSM Einsatz, Berlin, East, 1957, page 193, and Buchenwald, Meinung und Verflechtung, Document und Bericht, Berlin East, no date, picture supplement. The wheels differ, the legs in the back part do not fit anatomically and perspectively to the front and body parts. The unclarity of the load contradicts the clearness of the trailer parts. The anatomy of the bodies is much too small in comparison to the trailer. Please consider the following in the same vein as the previous. Now, the following picture appeared at the top on page 38 under the caption, "Corpses of gassed prisoners at the exit of the gas chambers before they are burnt." Published with this text in SS Hinker und ihr Opfer, Vienna, 1965, published by the International Federation der Widerstandskämpfer, that's the FIR. The bottom photograph is also from page 38 of Melindy's book, and it has the caption, "This photo was secretly taken and smuggled out of the camp by David Samuelewski, a member of the illegal resistance organization." This better retouched version was published with this text in Gerhard Schönberner's Der Gelb Stern, published in 1960, page 162. That's the Yellow Star in translation. Also, in 1948, it was stated in a Budapest book by Levi Gino, page 280, that the photographer was David Grech. Now, a comparison with a picture by Tadeusz Kulakowski, page 112, published in 1960 in Warsaw, which is obviously the original of this drawing, shows further changes in the reproduction. The bodies are too small in comparison to the men, and they throw no shadow. The enlargement at the bottom shows clearly that such corpses never existed. The position of the throat, arms, and legs of the woman in the foreground is completely impossible. The left arm of the staggering man seems to have two elbows. Now, this is a photograph from page 39 of Melindy's book. Well, I think in that particular photograph, in particular, the crudeness of the fakery is apparent. But let's take a look at still another one, which a set of pictures which I think makes clear, again, the fraudulent nature of the picture. The caption that accompanies this picture, "Before the public execution, the sentence is read to the victims, then the salvo follows." Published with this text in Der Zweite Weltkrieg in Bildern und Dokument, Volume 1, by Hans Adolf Jacobson and Hans Dollinger of Verlag Kurt München, page 101. This picture is fabricated. The unclearness of the emblems on the caps, as well as their lit edges, contradicts the sharpness of focus at other places. The epaulets of the SS men are wrong, which is due to the wrong cut of the lapels. In the sport badge of the right SS man, the swastika is wrongly drawn. The lighting of the picture is not uniform. According to the left pole, the sun is shining from the above left, which neither agrees with the turn-up of the trousers of the left prisoner, nor at all with the right prisoner, nor with the right SS man. Here, the light obviously falls in from the right. The black of the ears, eyes, on the edges of the braces, and on the top edge of the shirt of the right prisoner can never be the product of photography. The hand of the left prisoner is anatomically wrong and is too brightly lit. The background between the two trousers of the prisoners is wrong. The whole situation is unrealistic. Execution is undertaken in steel helmets anyway, and not in dress uniform. Pictures of the murder of 500,000 German soldiers by Soviet partisans, officially admitted by the Soviets, and the numerous systematic exterminations of German prisoners of war in the Soviet Union, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, and other countries cannot be found in these scientific books. This is a photo, 1958, published, Der Spiegel, 12/12/1966, page 83. I'll be out of time. This is iVideo. My name is John Savers.